Scared. You should be frightened. Very, very afraid. Okay, so law of cosines, technically, there's 3 versions of the law of cosines. I usually tell people to learn one and learn it well and to kind of understand the concept with it. What it is if I'm talking about angle C is the angle I know or that I'm looking for. And then again, the little c is across from it, and then A and B are the 2 other sides. So little c, I'm wondering if I should use A instead. That's still see a little c squared is going to equal this is our formula. Emphasis on the big C and the little c. Okay, so this is the side that's across from this angle. Now if you notice, in the rest of this formula, those 2 don't show up again. The other 2 sides that show up are basically other 2 sides that aren't involved with that side and angle. So the A and B show up twice in the formula. So these 2 are across from. So it doesn't really matter if they give you big A and little a, or big B and little b, or big C and little c. Those are the 2 that should be on the outside of our formula here. Okay? So this is an example where I need to find little c. We want the length of AB there, so which is little c. All right, so we have c squared equals, we're using our big formula up here. A and B are interchangeable, so it doesn't matter which I call A and which I call B. That's a whole lot of writing, but good news is your calculator allows you to put that whole line just straight into your calculator that way. As long as you don't do anything bizarre with it, you should be able to go like type it right in the way it is, as long as you don't break your calculator.
This got so excited.
Yeah, right. So excited to use a calculator. And we were doing problems like this on our pre-calc exam. I'm just going to put that out there, that he was doing this in his head, or trying to. So, again, you're like not going to live that down for me.
What is up?
Oh my gosh, what is wrong with all of you? I feel like I need to make like a sports joke about how our hands are not hanging onto the. All right.
Yeah, I think you did that wrong.
So I got a really big number, but again, when I do this, like 960.7 is my c squared. So now I need to take the square root of that. Now I don't retype that in. I do the square root of the answer when I do this. So if you don't use that answer feature, I would highly suggest it. And if you don't know how to, I can show you how. It works really nicely because it gives you a really nice number. You get 30.99, so it's essentially 31. You know how to do that? So the announcement second, square root, and then second, and it's like that little answer. Second is toward the look at that. So you don't have to read, it takes the previous answer and takes it in for you. It's amazing. Okay, yeah. Have you never done that before?
No, so like, at first, all that minus
Yeah.
You got
and then it gives you 4.
Oh, that's weird.
Like, I don't know why. It gives you 4, so then I multiplied it by the cosine of -5.
Oh, because it's going out of order. So order of operations says I have to do all this multiplication first. So this all has to be done first, but your calculator will do that for you if you put it all in at once. So you can break it into 2 steps. All right? Yeah, so make sure you guys are figuring out what you need to put into your calculator to get this to work, but you should get about 31. All right, questions there?
Do I have to put a multiplication sign in between the 22 and 4 sign?
No, your calculator should know that, but if you want to put it there, it will be fine. Okay, guys, can you stop, please? So, questions there on that one? You're okay? So then to find angle A, now this is a little bit tougher when we go about finding an angle, because we have a little bit more work to do in this case, and it's really easy to mess up the order of operations when you're solving this one. So make sure you guys kind of follow along here. So now we're looking for angle A. So this is little a. That's what's going to go on the opposite end of my equation. So this is what I'm actually going to start with this time. Does that make sense? So I'm kind of flipping my equation a little bit, where this is my angle and this is my side. So instead of using c squared, I'm essentially using a squared. Because that's what I was looking for. I don't want to have to find all the angles, I just want to find a, because the a and the a have to be opposite one another. So, I'm going to start with 10.4. And this one you won't be able to put it all in your calculator all at once. Variable sitting over there. Think of it as an x. So I'm going to square 10.4. And then remember order of operations. So I'm going to do the exponents next, but I can also combine them together. So I'm going to do those exponents. So I'm going to do 21.9 squared plus 18 squared. And this multiplication I can do all at once. Now I don't know what the cosine of A is, so I'm going to multiply this all together and leave cosine of A there right now. Alright, this is where usually people go wrong, so. That subtraction's like screaming at you, like subtract. Don't subtract. Why can't you subtract right now? It's with the cosine. It's like attached to the cosine. Think about this, like go back to like algebra 1. If I had this, well, I should do a subtraction. Would you combine the 2 and 3 together?
Nope.
No, you would not. We cannot just combine those two together because that 788 is being multiplied by the cosine of A. So, we're not doing that problem. So I have to keep those together right now, so I'm going to move this one over. So I cannot combine them. That's the biggest mistake that students make there, so be careful there. So I'm subtracting. Don't forget about that negative in front of the 788. Yikes. Right. Okay, what are we going to do next? Divide. That's being multiplied to the cosine, so now we're going to divide by that 788, that negative 788. from both sides? And we're left with just that cosine of A on the right side, which is what we wanted. And to solve that, I'm going to have to do the inverse cosine of that kind of big ugly fraction there. And now if you want to make them both positive, because two negatives make a positive, it doesn't really matter, but so to figure out angle A, I'm going to do the inverse cosine of all that. I got like a 28-degree angle, 28.1. That sound right? Okay. So again, the two types of triangles we just talked about were side angle side and the side side side. So when that's the information you know, you can use cosine. Law of cosines, I wouldn't think you'd like this better than law of sines. Law of sines is a lot more streamlined and just, there's a lot of steps to this. So that's preferred if we can use that, but these two are definitely solvable. I don't know who came up with this, but they're brainiac there. So last one here, asks us to solve the triangle, so that means find all missing sides, all missing angles. So in this case, we're missing two angles and a side. So I want angle A, I want angle C, and then I want side AC. Now this time it doesn't tell us what trig ratio or which trig law to use. Any thoughts? We have to use law of cosines because this is side angle side. So since it's side angle side or side side side, we have to use cosines. Now this time it's B that we know. So I'm looking for this little side. I don't like using B as a variable because my B's always look like 6s. So I'm going to call it X instead. It's AC. So again, this is one like the one we did first. Where this is my X squared. This is the easier of the two signs of law of cosines. So this is a nice one. You can enter all that in all at once, as long as you do the right numbers. Well, actually probably rounds up. If we're rounding to the tenths place, it rounds up to a nice number, 34. Now the question is, once I know that, how am I going to find angle A or C? Do you want to do law of cosines again? No, I would probably choose that you do law of sines. Because now I should have enough information to switch over to law of sines. Because now I know this side across from this angle. So I can do sine of 88 over 34. So we just found that side, 34. And then I can either do A or C. It doesn't matter which one we do. So A goes with 17. So that's what I'm putting in my ratio here. So I cross multiplied. And then I'm going to divide. So then I'm going to do the inverse sine because I'm trying to find that angle. Don't forget about that inverse sine of this kind of huge fraction here. And again, a lot of this is being able to manipulate your calculator correctly. Because, you know, if I just handed this to a little kid and told them to enter this in, they wouldn't be able to. I mean, you guys are practicing it, but if you don't practice, you won't get good at this. And that should give us angle A. And I got like 30 degrees. Is that what you guys got? So 30 and then angle C. Oops. Right. And then the other ones will be 62. All right. Are we having math bullies? Yeah. Turn it back. Make sure you guys read the directions. Some of them are reviewed from the other day.
I know how much you like this movie did.
Oh, yeah. Oh my gosh.
I just have to shut this real quick, just to cheer up.
Hey.